Hello, welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Airfix's brand new, straight off the shelf, 1/72 McDonnell Douglas F4 Phantom FG.1. Now, if you're a little bit like me, it's a bit of a mixed bag of emotions with this particular kit. When they first announced they were doing a Phantom, I was like, fantastic. As everybody who knows me as a massive Phantom fan, and I like all Phantoms, doesn't matter which version, which nation, whichever. I just love the aircraft, very iconic aircraft. And then I was hit by the disappointment that's 1/72. If this had been in 1/48, you would have been, oh, absolutely. And I know a lot of people have said to me, but Phil, the thing is though, it's already been done in 1/48 scale to death, because obviously you've got the fantastic, still very, very nice Hasegawa kits in 1/48. But then my theory to that is though, the Fujami, which I built 20 or plus years ago, F4 in 1/72 as an FG1 and FG2, they are beautiful kits as well. So really Airfix has got to step something up here. Otherwise they're just reboxing another manufacturer's kits 20 years after it's been released. But then you get the CAD work and the very niceties of it. And then you suddenly realize this is now 20 years new tooling onto it, technology's moved on, and we've ended up with something really, really nice at a particularly nice price as well. So looking around on the box, we were talking about this, so if you were watching one of our live shows recently, and we were talking about box art and what a fantastic job Airfix do on box art. Not only were they fantastic back in the 70s, then we had that little thing in the sort of 80s where they went to having pictures of the real things, and we've discussed that at length, but they are definitely back with a bang, and that is just pure Phantom raw navy gloriness that you can get in one picture, straight on the cat, strapped down, ready to go. And then obviously we've got a Wessex overhead on guard, and it is just a beautiful looking image, very, very striking. So down on the box, as you can see, you've got Airfix's normal sort of blurb around this one. Kit number for this one is A06016. And then we can see down on here we've got a couple of different versions of it. So we've got HMS Ark Royal from 892 Squadron, and then we've got Naval Air Station just down the road from me for Yeovilton, 1971, and then we've got another one from Yeovilton in 1969 as well. So say some very iconic markings. As you can see, brand new kit. I haven't been here at all, and I'll be honest with you, this only landed about 5 minutes ago. Been waiting to get this one in from PM Models, and it has turned up today. Okay, in the box, which I have to say again, the box, it feels very, very strong. We know it's just a fold down box and all the rest of it, but it is in here. It's a nice crammed box full, as we can see. All right, so let's move that out of the way. We'll move that out of the way. We've got the decals and the sheet just down on there. Okay, so let's have a look through the old instructions as always, see what we get. Okay, so straight off the bat, we've got a couple of options down here. Straight away in flight, lovely way to have a Phantom, to be honest. I think they was great in flight. We've got ready on the cat, so they've got the nose with leg extended full, as if it's about to be fired off the cat. Or we've got powered down, so ready for stowage. So we've got the nose folded round, okay, and obviously the wings folded. Again, very nice touch, as you can see. And then obviously pick the version you want. Just make sure you're making your way through the build and following along any guidelines that you might have about the different versions. So straight off the bat, it looks like we've got molded harnesses into the seats right the way through, and then we're working in there for the rear instrument panel being fitted down in there. We've got decals, it looks like, for the actual around on the cockpit side tubs, on the walls, things like that for instrumentation, and then usual thing, we've got control sticks going down in there. Then front instrument panel, again, multiple decals make up that part, front end being fitted on. A little bit of colour work down in there, some parts to remove, but again, depending on the nose, if you're going to have it open, closed, whatever, it depends if you're going to be chopping it open. Okay, then down there on the back, we actually have, it looks like a really nice reinforced type tab for the movement part of the actual tailplanes themselves. Okay, so it's an all moving tail on these, so that way you can, depending on which version you're going to be using, you can have it in the down position as if you're ready on the cat, or you can actually go with it in the sort of normal horizontal position, both sides, whichever way you're going to do it. A couple of intakes going down in there, again looking like they could be pretty good. As long as we haven't got any ejector pin marks in there, it'll be quite nice. Okay, some nice locating points as well, it looks like, for actually putting those in, just to make sure you've got the best alignment you can. Okay, and then working away, cockpit sides, the cockpit being fitted into the sidewall, getting that glued into position, and then the two halves can go together, which is again another nice touch. Then on from the underside, we can actually put in the first stage compressor blades for the fan system down onto there, and then obviously we've got a top part as well going down the back, which probably means we've got other versions of Phantoms coming along, seeing as they've done it that way. And then we've got some nozzle sections being sent in there, all in the underside, as you can imagine, that typical sort of way that Phantoms are, with a completely opened up bottom. Okay, then we were going in, so we've actually got the actual auxiliary doors down on the underside, so we've got those open or closed depending obviously if you're in flight or powered down. And then we got a little bit of wheel well makeup going down in there. Then we've got some different holes to open up depending obviously for your pylons, if you're going to be having them or not, and then opening up the outer tabs for your fuel tanks. Plate system going in underneath there, which then will complete that section. A little bit odd how that works. It'll be interesting to see that in a moment. That seems to be very complex for something like that. But anyway, next version's going down, and then you've got that entire wing section being dropped up in there. The catapult launch hooks being fitted to the underside, that's those going in, and then obviously the big thing, how well these actual sides of the intakes fit. Do we have a nice seam? We don't know. We'll find that one out later. Same for both sides, as you can imagine. And we've got a little decal going to go down on the inside. Top parts of the wings being fitted down on there. And then we've actually got the tail system. And it looks like it's saying you can do both tails. So we've got the smooth type, as in this one, you know, or we've actually got the box type on there as well. So depending on which type of the Phantom you're actually doing, we'll give you the different ones down on there like that. And then obviously tail planes we spoke about before, you'd be fitting those in. And then the wingtip system, again, another little system how this is going to click in. So if you've got it in the one, that way you've got the correct sweep of the wingtip angles being fitted in there. Nice to see as well, we've got separate flaps and aileron system being fitted down into there. So those go on, and we've actually got leading edge slats as well, which is really nice on a sort of a smaller scale just like this. Speed brakes obviously open close depending which way you want them. And then again, talking about fitting, you know, obviously all the flaps, slats and ailerons down in there on the other side. Or if you're going to be doing it folded up, this nice way of having this with the actual wing tips in the folded position up. Okay, so again, and then fitting the parts as required. Okay, the blow-in auxiliary doors down the back there for the actual spay engine system being fitted in, those are going to be fitted in there. And then we've got the cooling scoops as well for the electronic spays on the nose being fitted in, some other little parts down the back, and then we've got the engine nozzles in there. And as you imagine, we've got gear up system and then gear down, working your way down with the gear if you're going to be doing it that way. Okay, so again, looking very, very nice. Gear doors all being fitted down to the outsides, as you can imagine, and then depending off is, you know, which way you're going to have. You're going to have the Phantom on the actual cat type look, you're going to have the full extension on, or if not, you're going to be cutting it back with the different versions on the nose wheel, as you can see. And then we've got missiles being fitted down into there, and then obviously we've got the actual long-range ferry tanks, centerline tanks, things like that. And then we've got various weapons low down there. So we've got freefall bombs or rockets, and then we've got sidewinders as well down on there for the actual pylons. Very nice indeed. So again, different call-outs for different things. And then we've got refueling door open or closed. Again, another lovely touch on this one. Hook open, deployed or stowed. And then obviously we've got back into the cockpit area. So we've got the instrument panel coaming top, the HUD being fitted down onto there. And then obviously depending if you're going to have one piece canopy drop down on the top, or you're going to do multiples if you're having it in the open position, depending on which way you're actually going to do it. And then finally, a lovely little touch, we've got the radome. So if you are going to be going down in there, obviously with it just in the stow position, you're going to have it swung right the way over. But another lovely little touch with this one is you can have it out. So we can actually have the radar out on its actual track system and then showing as if it's out in the front instead of being pushed in. Okay, again, very, very nice indeed. So straight off the bat, you're thinking, okay, well, forget the Fujami one because it's nothing like this. The Fujami one is just a shell. It has no details, it has no wing fold system, things like that at all. So from that point of view, it knocks this one into sort of a cocked hat, really. Okay, so we have different ones down in here, obviously full placement. So we've got the usual medium sea grey with the white underside, as you can see, looking absolutely lovely. No problem with that at all. And again, and there's your problem. As we all know, every Phantom wouldn't be complete without a million stencils. So there we go, stencil data all over this. Even in 1/72, you don't get away from it. And then a couple of the other ones down in here. So we got 767 Squadron with the actual Golden, the Firebird and then the very famous 892 squadron down in there as well. Okay, so this is the thing, you've got the different types of radar warning receiver, the later and the early versions on those. Okay, so decals, straight into the decals. As you can see, a lot of these are made up of the actual placard data. We can see up the top here we've got the various ones going right the way through. I can't actually see any problem with that. They all look pretty good indeed. And again, I have said it, I always find that the carrier film on their decals can be a little flat looking. But as you can see, it is pretty flat on there, but I think it's going to be workable. And then obviously you've got weapon things and various things down in there. That looks all pretty good. Good solid colour all the way through. Okay, let's get to the big bit. Okay, so we've got a giant bag. I get told off for mentioning them, having them all together, so I won't, but they shouldn't. Oh, I did. Never mind. Okay, clear parts. Ooh, do you know what? I was really hoping that Airfix were going to use the same plastic of what we've just seen on some of their other newer releases and things like that. Certainly, this is very much the old school stuff. So we're back to the old plastic that's a little bit flashy, a little bit chunky. So actually I'm a little bit disappointed. I was really hoping that this was going to be in the new plastic, but this stuff tends to get sink marks. It tends to be quite, you know, just not as nice. The way I do it is, you hear it when it hits, it's very clunky. Yeah, if you do some of their other ones we've looked at recently in some of their recent reviews, you know, obviously it's a lighter, when it hits it's more of a chinky sound, if you like, and it's a nicer stuff, because the trouble with this is it does tend to suffer from a little bit of shrink marks and things like that in there. Anyway, as you can see, very nice indeed. Straight off the bat, as you look at it, obviously we're allowing for 1/72 scale. It looks pretty good. We've got a lot of detail down in here. And if we cut to the close-up, you can see we've actually got a little bit of recess riveting detail down on here. It's not everywhere, but where the heavy riveting is, obviously down these areas and down the back end, it is all here. It is very fine, lovely engraved panel lines, maybe a little bit deep if we're honest for this particular scale, and maybe the riveting's a little bit deep, but generally very, very nice indeed. We've got the strengthening plates up underneath here. They're all been nicely sort of recreated and done for the wing fold section. And this is the thing, we've obviously got the S version, it looks like, underneath. So the S version has strengthening plates all the way through it. The normal ones don't. So maybe Airfix are planning other versions in the future to come along with these. It has got a little bit of flash around on some of the parts, and it has got a few ejector pins running around, but it actually doesn't look too bad at all. Maybe, I don't know if we're looking at the riveting detail up under here, a little bit heavy for its scale, but you know, when you're into this scale you sort of have to work with what you've got. I think that's going to be pretty good. No problem. It's going to take a wash nicely, maybe just a little bit deep on some of these, but I have to say, generally, that's really very, very nice indeed. It's clean, it's crisp, just a little bit heavy, if we're honest. Internals, as you can see down in here, not a great deal going on, but you know, at the end of the day, it is a 72nd scale kit. You can't cram everything into a 72nd scale kit. It's just that when you see the parts break down like this, as you can see, it's very odd how they've laid all of this out. I'm just hoping, because this plastic is so soft, it's not going to do warpage, and I don't know, that's really warped. I don't know how well you can see that from the overhead. You see how this is pulling downwards? Well, obviously the nose doesn't. I'm hoping it will pull up, but this is the trouble with this softer plastic. Anyway, let's have a closer look. As we can see, beautiful recessed details, everything going on there. There is a little bit of flash here and there, but to be honest, you could clean it up quite easily. It's just that some of these holes, if you look, they look very softly moulded. You know, it's just, I think, the way that the moulding's done with it. I've got no problem, I think, with it going together. I just think it may be a little bit clunky. Okay, so we've got the slats deployed on the wings, and obviously we've got the control surfaces all down here. We've got the speed brakes. We work our way along, as you can see, right the way through. Some nice detail down in here. Unfortunately, there isn't any riveting down in there, but that's not too much of a problem on this scale. But generally, as you're looking on both sides of it, it is pretty good. It's got some nice details on the outsides of this. It's just that I don't know, Airfix trying to get too many versions out of one kit? I don't know, it just seems to be a lot going on with this. Okay, so as you can see, this is the all-important one. I'm happy to say we don't have any intakes with ejector pins in, so that's quite nice on both parts, so that's going to be a nice one. Just a simple centre seam to go through. We were about to lose a pitot tube, get snapped clean off, but that is back there. Okay, so looking around again, as you can see, tops of the wings, really some very nice detail with those. They're looking very, very nice indeed. Those intakes looking good. The actual tails, so depending if you want the one at the top with the radar warning receiver or the normal one, depending which versions you're doing. And then we've got this location type system. You see these funny little tab holes down in here, and we've got those intakes. So everything's looking very, very nice on this. We've got a tiny little bit of detail just for the inside of the wheel wells, but that's looking pretty good. I think this is the ILS antenna at the back here, maybe a little bit thick. Because it's like a blade in real life, it may be a little bit thick, but obviously, you know, you could always take that out and put in a Phantom FG.1 afterwards. Okay, so weaponry down on here, we can see no mass problems with sink marks yet. I thought we might find a few more using this plastic, but actually it doesn't look too bad at all. So going through, we've got the pylons, we've got the medium range missiles, we've got the freefall bombs, we've got the ferry tanks, and all the different items. They're all looking, to be honest, really very, very nice indeed. I've got no problem with any of that. Again, maybe a little bit thick, just like the fins on the missiles at this scale. I don't know, maybe being a little bit picky. Okay, engine parts, cockpit detail, things like that on this sprue. Air-to-air refueling probe with tail hooks, things like that. Very nice indeed, no problem with that. That's looking pretty good. And again, if we make our way slowly through, you can see, actually, I think it's going to be okay. I'm a little bit, you know, drawn at certain parts on this, but actually I don't think it's too bad. I quite like these engines. You know, the veining system is pretty good. Nice depth to those for the nozzles, things like that. That's looking pretty good. This refueling probe looks quite nice. Okay. It's got a little bit of flash and there's quite a little bit of burring on this one, but generally I think nothing seems to be too bad. We have got some ejector pins, but to be honest, where they are, it'd be easy to get rid of. Nothing seems to be too far out the way. So yeah, very nice indeed. Again, burring is always going to be a problem. When we talk about burring, it's like seam. Where you get two bits together, you get the seam. So if you always look at the sprue, you can feel, there's quite a nasty one on this one, that's what it happens. And then it transfers into things like gear legs and various things. You have to go around and scrape them out. But I don't know, I think it'd be okay. So down on here we've actually got the weapons system. So we've actually got nose wheel, we've got the radar, various parts down in here. As you can see, the different types of rings at the front. We've actually got the missiles, sorry, the rocket pods down on there, various things. And then, to be honest, is that a mismold? But clearly, I'm sure you can see what I'm talking about here. Why does it go in and not here? Is somebody going to tell me now that actually the tailplanes do that? Because I don't think they do. But definitely I've got a trouble, and as I say, if I put it on here, you can see how much trouble I've got. This is quite a nasty tail. As you say, it should be the same as the other side. You know, if we square them off on here, you can see I've got a little bit of a problem there. So yeah, a little bit odd. And as you can see, you've got a little bit of flash down in here, but generally I think we'll be okay. You know, with that, something like that to fix it, you know, you could be purist and plastic hard and sand and do, or you could just sand in lightly and I don't think anyone would notice, depending on how much of a rivet counter you really are on that one. Okay, clear parts in a nice little separate bag. So, Airfix recently, their clear parts have been fantastic, and I have to say, again, Airfix has done a fantastic job on this one. Really, very, very nice indeed. Nice, clean, clear, and the great thing is you have got one piece if you're going to do it in flight, or you've got it broken up, so you've got the options of both. So actually that's pretty good, and the way that the actual nose, front canopy and sort of windscreen area goes, it's blended into the surface of the actual aircraft itself, so it's not like it's going to be something separate. Nice touch as well with the radome. This is the actual radar itself. Very nicely done, quite sharp, quite crispy, quite nice indeed, very good. So there we go. Okay, honest opinion. Yeah, you know me. I have to say, I'm disappointed it's not in Airfix's new type of plastic we've seen with recent stuff that they've been releasing. It's lighter, it's more crispy, it's not as chunky and as softly moulded, shall we say, as some of the, like this stuff is. So from that point of view, I'm very disappointed it's not in their newer type plastic injection moulding. So it's always going to have trouble then with burring. It has trouble with sometimes with sink marks, and ejector pins tend to be a bit more of a pain to get rid of on that type of thing. That said, there's not much burring on this particular kit. The ejector pins tend to be all out of the way, so I'm really not worried about it. And as for sink marks, I didn't really see anything that jumped out of me, so I think maybe we've got away with it with this particular kit. I think it's a little bit overcomplicated. Maybe, as we know, we're going to see different versions of this coming out, but I'm also in that thing of like Airfix take forever to release everything, so I can't imagine them suddenly thinking, well, in 20 years time we'll release another version, perhaps the Phantom S, because we've got the reinforced bottom plate for it and stuff like that. You know, is it? I don't know. Perhaps they have got something lined up in the very near future. Sometimes, though, I just wish that manufacturers would stick to the guns with one particular thing, but they're just trying to get the maximum amount of money as they can out of one particular mould that they can reuse for other things. But it is nice to see, obviously, Airfix doing a British subject, la-di-da-di-da, we all do it. It's just that there's something not sitting right with me with this particular kit. I've seen it goes together lovely. I've seen many of you have built it now, and it looks an absolute stunning build once it's together. I'm just thinking perhaps Airfix have overcomplicated what is a 1/72 scale kit. If this is 1/48, I think it'd be totally acceptable, but when you're in the smaller scales, it just makes for a lot of work. That said, as we've been saying in recent builds as well, 1/48 is one thing. 1/72 is like 1/48 used to be. You get so much more detail, you get so much more options than you used to get 10, 20 years ago now. Now 1/72 is more like 1/48, 1/48 is more like, you know, 1/32. 1/32 is in its own realm now with some of the details that are coming out for those. So from that point of view, if you are wanting something a little bit smaller but high on detail, high on different, you know, make out loads, things like that, then obviously this is going to be a type of kit for you. So there we go. This is the McDonnell Douglas Phantom FG.1 in 1/72 scale. PM Models has these for Flory Models members for £22. So if you want to grab yourself a bargain, get yourself a few quid off, you can obviously get it via us on the Flory Models site. So if you want to do that one. And also, if you want to see me build this kit, I'm going to start building it as part of the actual Sunday morning live shows that are coming out starting this Sunday, if you're watching this live. Otherwise, we're going to be doing this over the next few weeks. So we can actually see how this goes together with me and a few of the other guys for a sort of, you know, fun chat and things like that as we make them. So there we go, that is it. Airfix's 1/72 McDonnell Douglas Phantom FG.1.